And before we go, a special segment for you and a very special interview, keeping aside the Bhagavad Gita controversy, which of course has been really dominating a lot of the headlines. It's been a rare clash of Hollywood films in India. Two interesting and very diverse films, Barbie and Oppenheimer, released on the same day on June the 21st. And they both seem to have brought cinema lovers back to the theatres, which frankly have not exactly seen a very successful run this year so far for the last couple of years. But a simultaneous release of Barbie and Oppenheimer has generated excitement among cinema enthusiasts, drawing them back to the big screens. And a lot of people are saying that this might perhaps lead to a revival of the entire cinema industry. And I'm not going to tell you about the films, you know about them, Barbie, Oppenheimer, enough has been written. So let's just get a very special guest onto the program. Ajay Bijli, the managing director of PVR Inox, is now with us. Ajay, thank you so much for joining us. If you were talking about the revival of the cinema business and what's going to happen to cinema halls and cinema theaters like yours, would you have believed that it would have been two Hollywood films that would have actually done this, got so many people excited?
Nobody was expecting that a movie which is 3 hours, 18 minutes long, a movie which is not a franchise movie. Like typically you have Fast and the Furious 9, 10, you have Mission Impossible 7, you have Marvel, DC. All these franchise movies have brought people back into the cinemas in India and abroad, post-COVID and even pre-COVID. But suddenly two brand new movies. Oppenheimer is a brand new story, old story, but a very different genre altogether. And Barbie is the first of its kind. They brought people back, so it's very heartening to see people coming back and talking about films on the big screen rather than OTT TV shows.
And it's not necessarily, these are necessarily movies like, Avatar or something, but you have to go and get the cinema experience. I could have understood the hype around, one of those films which are movies that you have to go to the cinema hall for. These are technically movies that you can say, but I can watch it later whenever they release on OTT. So to that extent, the hype is even more interesting.
I think always, over a period of time, Vikram, this has happened, a fatigue factor comes in whatever you're doing too much of. So last 2-3 months, we've been sensing it a little bit. The data points are all showing that movies are doing well. People are coming back. So if I go back to last quarter, even movies of Vicky Kaushal, which is a small movie, not advertised at all. In fact, 3 weeks prior to the release of the movie, they decided what the movie should be, Zara Hatke, Zara Bachke. 3 weeks prior to the release, they decided what the name of the movie should be. That ended up doing about 80-90 crores. Another movie came of Karthik Aaryan, not very heavily promoted. That ended up doing well. Some Hollywood films came in the middle. They started doing well. So we could sense it that there was some sort of a fatigue factor coming of people just sitting at home, putting their feet up and watching these TV shows. So TV shows are brilliant, but I think the pendulum had shifted too much towards just staying at home and watching content. And now it's sort of balanced itself out a little bit, and which I'm very happy about, which is what I was hoping for anyway.
So let's look at the future of the industry. Look, obviously in the pandemic era, the concern about, let's not go to the movie because people could fall sick. Now that's in the past and that's a good news. What would be the friction points right now? I guess first of all would be the question of cost. Now we have heard people cribbing about that on social media. You want to go pay for the ticket, which is fine, but then you're buying popcorn and other stuff, and that is adding to this massive price tag. Imagine, you could get a whole year's entertainment for that. So would cost become one of the major factors? I know you've been trying to make some efforts to address that after the criticism that has come in.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, the good news is the appetite to go out and watch movies is back, which is something that I was concerned about due to various factors. Before I come to the cost, the biggest issue is most of the people that we listen to, I'm not saying cost is not important, it's extremely important, it's a relative thing. The price of a ticket, for some people is expensive, some people it's not. But at the same time, people are saying we are more time poor than cash poor. So I think the consistency of content which connects with the consumer is the most vital thing today, because that is where I think the South Indian industry has done a brilliant job. They're going back to the drawing board. They're looking at the scripts. They're looking at what is connecting. And out of the 512 screens that we've got in the south and about 1,200 in the rest of the country, those are back to pre-pandemic levels. So I think content for me is the number one thing, that flow of content, quantity and quality.
Okay, so let me come back to the friction points, right? So the other friction point, I guess, would be the price of food and drink, because even if someone says, all right, fine, we're spending 300 or 400 or 700 in going and seeing a movie, that's fine, maybe I can do it. But 200 rupees or 300 rupees for a popcorn or for a drink, 200 rupees for a Pepsi, what on earth are you talking about? That's the feedback that I think you also started to get.
Absolutely, Vikram, you're absolutely spot on, and we need to be very sensitive to that. So we had a very telling tweet. Somebody went to Mall of India, one of our cinemas in Noida, and he put that 800 rupees bill and on our face on Twitter, and all hell broke loose. And that was an eye opener for us. We were very fortunate that at the same time the GST debate got over. That the GST is only 5% now on F&B. There was a huge ambiguity whether it's 5% or 18% for the last 2-3 years. That debate got settled, and we immediately came out with that bottomless popcorn and Pepsi offer on the weekends, and we came out with a 99 rupees combo. And honestly, it has been incredible. And so it's been a blessing in disguise that tweet came. And obviously this GST also got rationalized. Right. So that's given a big sort of relief to us.
But maybe that's a secret. Maybe it's not actually Oppenheimer or Barbie. It's the fact that popcorn and Pepsi are cheaper. Maybe that's a more important factor than Oppenheimer.
No. Oppenheimer has played a big role, because our business is binary. Only when movies are good, people come in. But having said that, I've always been saying one more thing from the other side of my mouth, is that basically somewhere I find, okay, agreed, some prices had to be rationalized. At the same time, comparing a popcorn or a Pepsi on the roadside to comparing a popcorn Pepsi price in a infrastructure that we built for a multiplex, I thought was also a bit unfair. It was an apple to apple comparison.
All right. Ajay Bijli, thank you so much for joining us. And let's see what happens in the next few months in the cinema industry. Thanks a lot for joining us.